What is pagan about Christmas in Rome? Let's explore Roman cults and practices from Sol to the Saturnalia. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more on-site history and exploration. December 25th is the day that Christians celebrate Christmas. It was as early as the 3rd century that the Christian historian Sextus Julius Africanus, writing a universal history of Christianity, recorded that Jesus was conceived on March 25th, which meant that after 9 months, it would result in the birth of Jesus on December 25th. But what was so special about this date? It all depended on the change of seasons, the movement of the earth, and its proximity to the sun. In the northern hemisphere, the sun is furthest from the earth on the winter solstice, December 21st. But in the Roman calendar, it was traditionally noted as being on December 25th, after which the days became noticeably longer. That's what's fundamental. This date determined by the Romans that stuck, December 25th, for the celebration of the winter solstice. The Roman cult of the sun god Sol, an old deity associated with Apollo, had a number of celebrations throughout the year, but received a prestigious temple to Sol Invictus in Rome in the Campus Martius in the 270s under the Emperor Aurelian, dedicated on the 25th of December, at that moment and not before, tying the cult to the winter solstice. And in some related form, there was the cult of Mithras, so popular in the 2nd and 3rd centuries, that became associated with Sol, the sun, noted as the unconquered sun, Sol Invictus, and its own cult and mythology that were focused on the constellations and the movement of the heavens, including the annual solstice and equinox. Besides the cult of Sol and Mithras, we must turn to the fascinating cult of Saturn, the so-called Saturnalia festival, which has so many traditions, always at the end of the year, that became absorbed into the Christian celebrations in various forms, all throughout Europe, in which private families celebrate with gift exchange, merrymaking, and even assigning a king on the festivities. Let's take a look at the cult of the Saturnalia.
From the Capitoline Hill, I'm overlooking the Temple of Saturn. And this is the heart and soul of the experience of the Saturnalia. It starts with a public ceremony. It starts with this temple. The temple itself was created first in the 5th century BC. It's heavily rebuilt in the time of Augustus by Minucius Plancus, and that in turn is restored as the last revived and reconstructed temple of pagan Rome all the way into the 360s and 370s AD. It's a cult, it's a temple, it's a celebration that doesn't give way easily to Christianity, and in fact, there are a lot of aspects of the Saturnalia that are related to the celebrations of Christmas. Let's take a look. One of the curious things about the Temple of Saturn is the cult statue, made of wood, filled with oil, and year-round the legs were bound with wool, only to be removed on December 17th, the first day of the Saturnalia.
Note that Saturn holds a scythe. He's a god of sowing. He's a god of harvest. This is the end of the season of the agriculture, and therefore it's all due to this god who's giving us abundance now, Saturn. That's why shops are closed, businesses are shuttered. It's a time to reflect and enjoy.
Saturnalia is a festival that is on December 17th, but the days are added. And in the imperial period, we get to the period of 7 days that are celebrated from December 17th to December 23rd. Now, it starts off with a public sacrifice in front of the Temple of Saturn. It's funded by the treasury in the Temple of Saturn. And then there's a public banquet. In the public banquet, everyone is allowed to participate, but the rest of the celebrations take place at home. It's a time of merrymaking. It's a time of drinking. It's a time of games. Gambling is allowed even in public. It's a time for every stratum of Roman society to participate and have that time off. And there's a big period of gift exchange throughout, in particular, the Sigillaria. So you have these wax figurines and terracotta figurines that are given as gifts. Sure, many of the gifts can become quite expensive for the wealthy, but most people, it's a bag of nuts. It's a little figurine, it's a candle. And this is always taking place at the end of December. And everyone goes around in the streets and at homes saying, Io Saturnalia. Now, why is the Saturnalia celebrated in December? Well, it has to do with marking the end of the year. And the end of the year was observed in the sky as the winter solstice. Now, today we say the winter solstice on our calendars is December 21st. But for the Romans, they're really looking toward what's observable and going from the shortest day of the year into what's perceivable as the days lengthening. And then traditionally then, they're designating that date of the winter solstice is December 25th. So within that time period, that nexus of end of year recognition and celebration with the Saturnalia, we have this extended festival starting on the 17th of December and ultimately going to the 23rd. And in that time period, in the imperial period, there's going to be some Munera, these obligations, these games, gladiatorial games that are going to be held. So you're going to have bloodletting also offered to Saturn. And within that kind of context, you're looking at this agricultural divinity. You're looking at this God that has given so much to you, Roman, that you want to recognize it as taking it all in and sharing some of those fruits of your labors. And you're doing this through merrymaking, banqueting, gift exchange, all as the year ends and the new sun begins, the new year begins. It's not by chance that the companion of Saturn in the mythology of the Romans is Janus. And Janus is, of course, the god of January, the first month of the year in the Roman calendar. You have a subversion of the norms of society. So you take away the toga, the Roman garb par excellence, and you wear colorful Greek garb. You wear the pileus hat, which is associated with the emancipation of slaves. Now everyone gets to wear the pileus hat, even slaves that haven't been emancipated. You have the masters of the house serving their slaves. That's unheard of, right? It's society flipped upside down, but it's only for the Saturnalia. You have gift exchange. You have a period of merrymaking, lots of drinking, and it's big feasts. And remember, primarily this is a festival in the home. It only starts off here at the Temple of Saturn with a public sacrifice and a public banquet. The rest of it is more intimate, more private, more for the familia.
As a culmination of traditions, there was even the king of the Saturnalia, Saturnalicius Princeps, an individual selected master of ceremonies during the banquet, who would playfully lead guests in all kinds of antics, which today we still find in some Christian traditions. So let's ask the question again. What's pagan about Christmas in Rome? We looked at the end of the calendar year and the solstice, and the tie to the sun god and Mithras. But really, it's the end of the year celebrations of the Saturnalia that have persisted in many forms in Christian traditions and celebrations of Christians in Europe. Of course, we've lost the gladiatorial games and the pileus hat wearing to signal freedom, but certainly in the medieval period, it was still very much a time of revelry. Heavy drinking, gambling, and overeating still presided over by a king of misrule. What we do see in Christmas celebrations today, though very toned down, are a similar formulation of gift exchange, merrymaking, shared meals, and still probably too much drinking. Merry Christmas, Io Saturnalia! And don't forget this holiday season to look at all the great new videos we have on Ancient Rome Live. Be sure to subscribe and sign up for our calendar at ancientromelive.org so you can tap into all the free videos and lectures filmed on site and presented from Rome.